The following is a fan-based discussion. All materials discussed are property of Toei Inc., Bandai, Hasbro, Saban Entertainment, and Subaraya Productions.
Hello, everyone! Welcome back to another Ultraman review with your favorite people, Marcus and Jacob.
Yay.
How you doing? But yeah, I'm very excited. No, I'm lying.
No, we're not. We're not excited at all.
We're doing Ultraman Orb, the Origin Saga, an Amazon exclusive.
Goody gumdrops.
Let's go ahead and start off where we usually do. Before we get into our main thoughts about the show. The opening, didn't like it.
It's not awful, but
No,
it's not good. It's not good either.
It's not memorable, which is an issue.
Which is an issue with this entire show.
Yeah.
I don't know if I've probably said this before. Correct me even in the comments if I have. This might be the most forgettable thing we've ever watched for this show.
We watched Ginga.
I remember things about Ginga.
Oh, yeah, I guess the notoriety goes a long way.
Ginga had that wonderful scene where Teacher Lady had those comically floppy rubber hands.
Oh, God!
And was screaming in a very comical way. Yeah. Ultraman Ginga had the most unintentionally funny scene ever. I am struggling to remember anything about Orbman Begins.
It's.
I will give it this. At least they didn't just call it Origins. They called it the Origin Saga.
Yeah.
They didn't go for the most overused subtitle ever.
Because it's like a part of the Orb Chronicle. Like his big long thing. Speaking of which, we're going to have a time, like a Ultraman week, where we're just going to do movies. Just to, go through them. And hopefully we get another one as good as the first one that we watched.
Yeah, Galaxy Legends Mega Monster Battle.
Which is still one of my favorite Toku.
Which is still one of the best Toku movies ever.
It's up there with 199. And that's saying something.
Yeah, I would agree.
But yeah, getting back to this. It's much more...
Where do we start?
Them running up the hill. Where
Them climbing a mountain in the snow.
Where we see Juggles first. Go to the light that would turn somebody into an Ultraman. Uh-huh. The light rejects him and gives it to Guy instead. They go on their first mission, and then we end up transporting to seeing another planet where we see this Princess Amate and her.
We open on the title screen of Ori and the Blind Forest,
basically, and we end up saying that she's supposed to become some war god and. Bloodstark from Bill doesn't want her to become a war god. It is his actor.
Yeah. I figured that's what you meant.
And there's like this whole thing where monsters are coming down and attacking.
There's monsters. People. There's crazy scientist man with his little robot friend.
There's Go On Red.
Go On Red as an Earth scientist.
Yeah. So, yeah, he's some weird scientist on Earth. They are the least interesting part of this entire show. The scientists. There are worse parts too, but it's just like a lot of the characters in this show don't have enough of a presence to really come out and show themselves besides Juggles and the other Ultraman.
You know what this kind of reminds me of?
What?
And this may seem like a bit of a stretch to some, but Avengers Infinity War. You know how Infinity War has a bunch of different B-stories following different groups of characters?
At least those characters and side stories were interesting.
Not only were the characters interesting, but the editing was done well, and I cared about what was going on. This is kind of like the opposite of that.
It's true.
It's just you have all these different stories. You have Dr. Psyche, and you've got the Ori and the Blind Forest planet, and you've got the scientist, and you've got Juggles and Orb, and that little kid who's a terrible actor. And you got all of them, and it's just like this mess that's been like
smashed together.
They took a bowl of spaghetti that's just been thrown at the wall, and you're just trying to follow it back to the meatball.
If they would have kept a lot of things in the show a lot more political,
if they'd have kept it more focused,
yeah, the Queen's story is possibly the most interesting thing in this because of everything else that's going on around her.
Mm-hmm.
Dealing with another planet, dealing with these invaders, having Bloodstark try to stop them. I'm just going to keep calling him that because I don't remember his name in this. I think it's Shinra, so Final Fantasy 7 and 10 apparently. But
Final Fantasy reuses lore all the time.
It's true. But and then those two the guards, the two female guards that just were there, and then one of them died later on after they met Juggles and Orb. Speaking of which, let's talk about the first suit. It's basically just a standard Ultraman suit that's red and gray and silver.
You know, I always praise Ultraman for its monster designs and its suit designs because normally they're very good. In this show,
it's a rehash.
It's a rehash, and none of the monsters are very good.
They're all rehashes.
Yeah, they're all rehashes, but there's something about the way they're used that just isn't very interesting.
They get mind controlled.
Yeah.
I mean, that's basically it. A lot of the monsters in this aren't doing this of their own will, which wouldn't, if Cosmos was a much more prevalent character in this, we haven't watched Cosmos yet, but we know enough about him. Is like,
he's been in other movies before.
Yeah, he wants to give you a hug. He also ages backwards. Look at his actor.
Yeah.
Tell me I'm lying. He looks like he's 18 and he's in his mid-30s. Or at least 21. I mean, come on. But, yeah. And it's interesting to see that. I really wish we could have watched Dinah before this, because
of its amazing theme song.
That.
For
and
one.
the fact that since he comes in this story, we don't really know exactly when this takes place.
Dinah's its own separate universe, right?
Dinah's in the same universe as Tika.
Oh, okay. That's right.
But he's also like a universe traveler.
That is also true.
Yeah, so he can go through and, we see him. And
because we've seen him do that before in other movies.
The best thing about this show is the returning Ultras and their actors. We got to see Kamen Rider come back as a ghoul. So, and we got to see Gaia come back, and Dinah and Cosmos and his aging backwardness. Him and Gat, I swear to God, they're vampires. But everything else is, I really hate Gaia in this show. Seeing him fight as Orb is just so uninteresting because he constantly gets his ass beat.
I get it. It's the beginning. He's not. This is how long before he becomes the guy that we know in Ultraman Orb.
Yeah.
However,
you see him train.
Yeah.
And you see how good he is. You see how good he is when he fights Juggler, but that doesn't translate.
It doesn't transfer.
So when he's fighting his Orb, it's just
it's inconsistent.
Yeah.
It's wildly. It's Orb. It's not his real body, but it's still him controlling the hands and the feet and everything else.
Yeah. So it's just you see how he fights, and then you see this, and you're just like, I don't get who are you?
Yeah.
Like, at least in the regular Orb show, you saw him fight outside the suit. That translated.
Yeah.
But in this case, it doesn't. And there is such a gap of knowledge between the two. Of just, them. And then the War God, because the Queen's mother was the previous War God, she died fighting the monster from this show. Mm-hmm. And then there's a whole thing where they end up having to try to mind control Psyche, and the Queen monster tried to mind control her. Let's talk about the War God suit, actually. I don't like it. I like the intricacies of, everything else, but I think it's because his face is a face. Unlike Ultraman's, which is a little bit more alien.
Yeah.
This one is like a legit face. It reminds me of just like a random Final Fantasy enemy where you had to go up and you had to fight a wall. I'm not
Which has happened multiple times.
Yeah.
Final Fantasy 12 comes to mind.
Yeah, but it's just like, then you're going to get into something like this. I just really don't like those faces. They remind me of the Weeping Angels from Doctor Who, and I don't like dying. So,
yeah.
But yeah, I just don't like it. It looks plastic.
It reminds me of, the angels from Bayonetta.
Yeah, that's actually very accurate.
That's kind of what it reminds me of.
Those goddamn angels. But yeah. It's just
that's a bit of an oxymoron.
It's true, but it's just it's sort of a mess with, and then we had to deal with the science.
The actual body, I actually think is okay.
Yeah, it's just the face.
The face is a little. The face looks like it's been shrunken.
That's the main.
The face is a little too small for the body.
If it was had in the second Zero movie that we didn't like, The Revenge of Belial.
Yeah.
If it had something like Mirror Man or the Flame Guy where it had a shield over the face, it probably would have been better. But it just doesn't.
You look at the screenshot right here.
Yeah, that looks terrifying. It looks like it's actually about to twist his face to another face that's smiling. Like the guy from Bioman. Saigon, I think.
The guy from Bioman, or the things from the Transformers animated movie.
Yeah. But yeah, these things are just sort of a mess, and I'm just not the biggest fan of War God. The scientist B-plot. Oh my god. This is the problem with this show and the fact that it doesn't know exactly where its own time frame to take place. Because this is
They shouldn't have been in the show.
They shouldn't have. Because they screw up the timeline for the regular Orb show. It's like he went back and traveled back in time.
He travels back. You have time travel. You have people from Earth. So Orb has met people from Earth already, and
it's confusing.
It's not just confusing. It's the biggest question of all. I said this before we started recording. Who cares?
Yeah.
Who really cares how this all started? It's the Rogue One situation. We already know, it's like, spoiler alert, we know how this story ends. We've already seen Ultraman Orb. That came out before this. We know what happens. If you want to do a prequel, that's fine. You need to have interesting characters, interesting new characters. Show the ones that we already know about in an interesting light. Maybe show them, show their arc, show their journey. This one doesn't do that.
It really doesn't.
These characters are boring.
Yeah, they really are. It's like literally the most interesting person, again, in this show is Juggles. Because we get to see his journey. Like, I'm saying that is not necessarily the best thing. No. But he's interesting because we get to see exactly how he got to the point that he did.
Yeah.
I love the fact that when he first doesn't get the light, you see that jealousy almost immediately. Like, that's great. And then we get to see his growth and his expansion away from Guy. And then he ends turning into his Majin form, and he still ends up helping him stop them, but then he ends up leaving. Mm-hmm. I feel like if Orb Origin would have been Juggler Origin, it would have been a much more interesting show. Mm. Because it would have focused especially on him, how he got to the point. There could have been more time skips to see how he became what he is in regular Orb.
Coulda, woulda, shoulda is all not something I like to dwell on, but I feel like the opening of the show should have come at the end.
Yeah.
If their rivalry had been building and building and building, and then the light choosing Guy over him is what really drove them apart, which I feel like is what Orb set it up as.
Yeah, they
Orb
really
proper set. That's how it gets set up.
Yeah.
It's, the light chose you over me. I'm gonna go off and do my own thing. But no, they're just gonna stay friends for a while.
Yeah. I'm just not the biggest fan of this. Yeah, it's just, and then at the end we end up getting to see the actual Orb Origin. We end up getting the elements from the other Ultras.
Yeah.
Which is, it makes sense for, especially the way the Orb went.
Mm-hmm.
But the lead up to it is just not that good. It's great seeing the other Ultras come back and spend time with the new guy. And, actually spend multiple episodes with the new guy. Mm-hmm. And which I think is great. I love the fact that Ultraman does that a lot more than, say, Sentai or Rider. But at the same time, we end up having this whole thing where they end up taking a lot of the spotlight because Guy isn't that interesting in the show. So it's just like, hey, we have these returning actors. I really want to go back and watch their shows. I don't really want to be watching this one. Mm-hmm. Except Gaia. We watched Gaia. Gaia's not that good.
No, it isn't.
It's at least in our opinion. But yeah.
I thought Gaia was better than this, though.
Oh, yeah, definitely was.
Gaia at least had some really good fights.
Yeah, they did.
This one has
a mess.
Like the action's not very good.
No.
Ultraman has always had really good action. Even when the show isn't that. Not always, but most of the time the action is very good.
Yeah.
Orb was a show that I was pretty lukewarm on, but I thought the action was very good. The thing I remember most about that show is honestly the yakisoba.
The funniest thing, I am noticing these things, and this just ends up going to show how not interesting Guy is in this. There's a scene where Dinah first shows up, and he and Guy are fighting together, and Dinah turns into his strong form or something, and he goes up to one of the monsters. I think it was a Birdon, the one with the testicle things. He is cracking his knuckles, and then flicks him in the head, and he just makes him run away. I'm sitting here that's hilarious. And I think that just might end up being Dinah in the whole because it's more comedic Tiga. Mm-hmm. If they did random things like that, I'm all for it. But when he was fighting the monster, I can never remember its name, the one that absorbs
Benstar.
Yes, Benstar. Juggler, he keeps shooting lasers at it, and Juggler is stop it. And Guy's I can't hear you over the lasers. I'm just why Why are you doing the same thing over and over again? You're shown to be smarter than this.
Yeah, we know you're smart in this. We know you're a better fighter than this because we've seen you fight hand to hand and you're good at it. You know how to fight strategically when you're you. But then he becomes Ultraman and just loses his common sense.
Yeah. It doesn't make any sense. Not a big fan of this show. Would we recommend it? No. No. Not at all. But, do you have any other final remarks? Didn't like the ending song either.
I made the Infinity War comparison earlier. The bad guy in this is like a much less interesting version of Thanos.
He's very, very...
Because he also wants to create a life without peace, and to do so, he will kill to do it. I know it's not... no, they're not really similar at all beyond that, but
yes.
I like Infinity War, so I want to talk about it.
If you haven't seen it, go see it. You probably already been spoiled, but oh well. But yeah, next time, we're going back to Garo, but we're doing a little bit differently, mostly to give us a little bit of time before we have to start watching Kiba. Because that'll be
next.
The next thing, and then we have Pain. Because, Gohan Red was in Orb Origin.
And Gohan is the next Sentai.
It's in 6 weeks. Oh, the pain. But next time, we're doing a couple of Garo movies and specials, mostly centering around the first 2 seasons to finish up Koga's story. We're doing Demon Beast of the White Knight, Red Requiem, and Makai Flash Knight. We were going to do... the last Koga one, but we're gonna save that until we get closer to season 5 because that leads more into that show. Mm-hmm. But yeah, let us know what you thought of Orb the Origin Saga in the comments below. Yeah, that's basically it. I know this one's a little bit short, but especially coming off the Raigeki Ranger review, which is like an hour and a half. But you gotta have those times. We really like a show. We're going to talk about it a lot more. That's something that's going to end up happening. We did that with Nexus. We did it with Mobius. We did it with Tiga. See, I know we're going to come back to that eventually. But you just end up getting someone that you're just not interested in as much. It happens with most things. As we all know, the Go Under one is just going to be fun.
That one might be long. Who knows?
But yeah. Join us in 2 weeks as we do those 3 Garo movies. I'm excited to do them. It's been a long time since I've seen them. So it'll just be fun. But yeah, it's been a Tokucast. Don't forget to go to Patreon, Facebook, Twitter, things of that nature. And we'll see you next time. Bye, everybody.